It's been 2 weeks since Keen Software House unleashed the alpha version of Space Engineers 2 upon the community. Reception has been mostly positive, with the game sitting at a very positive rating on Steam as of the recording of this video, and a large variety of builds and experiments shared across social media. The initial release on 27 January was followed up by a rapid-fire set of hotfixes to address a number of stability issues. Because this is just Vertical Slice 1, and its main function is to stress test the new VRage 3 engine, along with giving players early access to the new toolsets, none of the hotfixes or updates added additional features or functionality to the game. Now, it's 2 weeks since the release, and how's it doing? Beyond the positive ratings and reception from the community, what kind of promises does the game hold for the future? I'm Commander Exorcist. Let's talk about Space Engineers 2, 2 weeks later. As I mentioned in my release day impressions video, the alpha is significantly limited in functionality. There's an empty world with 0 PCU used, and there's a research station map that includes 2 model ships and 2 asteroid bases. Now, I showcased both of these videos, although mainly by running around and blowing things up. I mean, this is Space Engineers after all. But what kind of promise does Space Engineers 2 hold? While it's easy to put on rose-colored glasses and jump up and down about new features like improved graphics and a refined user interface to help new players learn the game mechanics more easily, Space Engineers has a long road ahead of it if it's going to compete for viability like its predecessor. So let's talk and start with the things that I like about the alpha, which is a lot. The graphics are stunning in this game. The subtle changes are not entirely noticeable until you go back to Space Engineers 1, and then you realize what a monumental upgrade they are. I understand there are some limitations right now with the game, being not compatible with some integrated graphics systems, and it's the Intel ARC A and B GPUs at the moment. The developers have promised to work on this for the future. In my own tests, I haven't experienced any real problems. I've experienced very little in the way of graphical hiccups or catastrophic failures due to the new engine. In fact, the only time I experienced any crashes was when I intentionally crashed ships together or caused general mayhem myself. Each crash was my own fault. For Space Engineers to be viable, though, as it's known to the community, the simulation of massive explosions and starship crashes must work as effectively as possible. Most of the problems that I experienced with crashes were solved by the hotfixes that rolled out shortly after release. Now, perhaps the best feature that I like is the unified grid system. The new layout includes options for increased detail and effects in the form of detailing cubes, along with keybinds that allow for precision placement of blocks on the grid. Now, this is going to be especially nice for creating highly detailed works like we've never seen before. In fact, the community's already put out some incredible works of art from engineers showcasing how these features function. And honestly, if we're just getting started with these tools, then there are some breathtaking designs that are yet to be realized. Now, overall, the alpha is a pleasant experience for what it is. I would venture to say that this is among the most stable and beautiful alpha releases of a game that I have ever used. I like the new interface, and although I'm aware the developers have said they're still tweaking it, I hope they stay with the general design and functionality because it's much cleaner and user-friendly than the UI from Space Engineers. I'd go as far to say that the UI was one of the barriers for me learning to use Space Engineers when I first started playing. It led to some really unfortunate and often hilarious and embarrassing events in those first few hours. If I had to give any criticisms to the alpha release, it would be the lack of significant blocks available to build with upon release. Now, there is a reactor and a solar panel block, but I think that including a battery block and or a smaller reactor option would have been welcome. My main concern is the limits on the type of power projects that engineers can build during the alpha phase. I don't like the idea of having to go back at a later time to add capacitors and reactors to my ship builds. Although in honesty, this is a minor gripe. It's more of a personal preference than any type of significant critique of the game itself. We all know those blocks are coming and features are coming down the road, and patience is, as always, a virtue. So, in my opinion, the biggest saving grace for the Space Engineers 2 Alpha is the transparency in which Keen operated before and after its release. Expectations were clearly set in that there would be limited blocks available, no multiplayer, no survival, or any significant features until later in the game's development. At this time, we're waiting to transition to the next phase of the vertical slice in the coming weeks, and to the next the next phase of this vertical slice, and to the next vertical slices themselves later in the year. We can look forward to new planetary generation systems, improved destruction mechanics, a survival mode, and the thing we're all waiting on anxiously, volumetric water. So 2 weeks later, Space Engineers 2 has shown significant promise and is being well received by the community. I've enjoyed my time playing around with the new features, and I look forward to building more detailed and complex projects, as time goes on and more blocks become available. For those people that are looking for a complete experience, this is not it. Space Engineers 1 is the game to play. If you're adventurous and you're looking to help shape the next generation of Space Engineers, then the Alpha is certainly worth considering. I don't think that you'll be disappointed by picking it up and trying it out. There's a lot of different things that can be done within the Alpha that are fun, many hours in. So that's going to be about it. Just kind of a quick overview of what I've thought and what I've felt playing the Alpha over the last 2 weeks. I will be back next time when we move into Vertical Slice 1.1, or the game gets another significant update that's worth covering. In the meantime, I will be continuing to work on my builds and trying to refine and make them a little bit more worth sharing, if you get my drift. So, hey everybody, thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Commander Exorcist. Take care, fly safe, and I will see you out there. Good night, everybody.